a corner full of stories with a gentle, caring light. Paula is the voice that invites you to take flight. We'll talk of little smiles, tender touches, and sweet care. A show for moms and dads, a cozy space to share. No place is named, just a world of gentle play, where I'm Paula guides you warmly to learn along the way.
Hello, everyone. We're here once again, but this particular time with a very special podcast. I have a guest today, and we're going to be talking about pelvic floor health. This is a huge topic that many of us, we don't really have a lot of information about it. And then one day we're like, something is happening with me, and I don't know what it is, and it feels weird. Is this normal, or what is this going on, and what's going on in my body? So my name is Paula Laria. I'm an international board certified lactation consultant. I'm a nutritionist from Argentina, certified infant massage coach. I'm a craniosacral therapy student. I'm a Reiki master healer. And here today, I'm your host for this podcast. I'm very excited because we're going to be having this special guest. Her name is Tripti Agarwal. I'm going to do that again because I want to make sure that her name is pronounced properly. The guest for today is Tripti Agarwal. Tripti is a licensed occupational therapist, ergonomic assessment specialist, and pelvic floor therapist with over 15 years of experience. She's a pre- and postpartum corrective exercise specialist, certified in manual therapy in pelvic floor. She offers holistic premium concierge pelvic floor services in Santa Clarita, California. She's also certified NLP coach, integrating mind-body healing to help women restore strength, confidence, and control from the inside out. She is a women's health advocate and empowers women to understand the impact of pelvic health in their overall well-being. Tripti, welcome to our podcast today.
Yeah, hi. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Tripti, before we go to the topic of the day, what is an NLP coach? Can you tell me a little bit?
Yeah, so NLP it stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. So it's basically, the other name to make it simpler is subconscious reimprinting. So basically, what memories you are holding in your body, what emotions you are storing in your body, all that sits in your subconscious mind. So conscious mind is where I actively know, like we are talking here with the conscious mind, I'm sitting here, I'm talking here. But subconscious is your kind of automatic brain, where it's just doing things and you don't know what it's doing. So all these things, when they sit in your subconscious brain, technically that's what you manifest in life. That's what, so it's a crazy fact, but our health conditions, our career, our day-to-day things, that's happening in our life is all boiling down to your subconscious mind.
So maybe I can have a pain in my body, and I don't know that maybe that pain is coming from something that happened many, many years ago.
Yes, completely right. We call it like your body is holding on to that trauma. And more and more researches are being done on this, and we all know about psychosomatic disorders, right? It's been discovered from a very long time, but like now this is such an important area where there are more researches, more papers are published, where people are understanding more importance of brain over matter.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, that I think is a whole topic for a completely new podcast.
I agree. That's my favorite topic. I can talk about it forever.
I love it. I love it. I was going to add more information, but I'm like, no, Paula, you're leaving this. So today we're talking about pelvic floor health. And even though many of us hear about the pelvic floor, can you explain us a little bit more about what is it, where it's located, anything that you can tell me about it to help the women that maybe they hear something and they're like, oh, I think what it is, but sincerely, sometimes we don't really know what are we talking about.
Yeah, and that's a great question, Paula, and I'm glad you asked this question because I feel like every other woman has this question. Like they know that there is something called pelvic floor down there, but they don't exactly know. So I have a pelvic model here that I'm going to use to explain it a little bit better. So like if you can see that this is the female pelvis, and these two bones right here are our bones, the ischium bones that are right here. And then this we all know is our pubic bone. Here, if you turn it around, then this is your spine, your tailbone at the bottom. Now, all these red structures that we are seeing here, these are all pelvic floor muscles. So if you can see your pelvic floor muscles, they are attached to your pubic bone at the front. They get attached to your sits bone on the sides, and then they go all the way back, and then they attach to your tailbone at the back. So if you can see, it like forms like a hammock kind of structure. If you imagine a hammock, like from pubic bone going to the sides and then all the way back to the tailbone. So as it's quite evident from the this model itself, that this is your urethra, this is your vagina, and this is the anus. So if you can see that these muscles, they help in release and controlling pee, helping in release and controlling the poop, and all the vaginal functions, like, intimacy functions, like if you are having pleasure with intimacy, pain or discomfort with intimacy, if you have orgasms with intimacy, those kind of things. Plus, if you can see this hammock kind of structure, it's also holding these three organs in place. So we have three organs in our pelvic floor: bladder, rectum, and your uterus for a female bladder. So for a female pelvis. So all three are sitting in our pelvis, and these pelvic floor muscles also provide like a support to these structures so that they stay in place. I mean, they have their own connective tissues and ligaments, but still these muscles provide like a huge amount of support so that they stay in place. So this is not like just one structure or anything. It's a group of certain muscles. Like there are three layers in our pelvic floor. So it's a group of muscles that helps us to execute all these functions, and these muscles are as important as any other muscle in the body. In fact, I'm a little bit more biased. They are more important than few other muscles in our body. So yeah, this is what our pelvic floor is.
That's very interesting because it seems for me that most of the time we talk about pelvic floor when something is wrong. Mm-hmm. And many, like, I never really think about talking about pelvic floor at any moment of life. So will you say that this is a part of our body that we need to take care at any moment?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So again, that's a great question because it's been told to us by the society, to be very honest, Paula. Like society has told us, sometimes even the providers unfortunately have told us that you need to train these muscles only when you deliver a baby. Like I get this question all the time.
Yeah,
like
I never hear about training the muscles at any time of life. It's like I only knew about exercises for the pelvis when I was pregnant, and a little bit after postpartum. I actually learned about therapy for the pelvic floor many years after I had my baby.
Wow.
Like I didn't even know that I could take advantage of having pelvic floor therapy after I had my baby. And I actually had a really long recovery. I don't even know if I completely recovered,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and you are not alone, Paula. Actually, I get these calls where people think that they had C-section. So technically, their pelvic floor is all fine because they delivered C-section. So these are the myths out there that, people like us, we have to bust it out to women so that they know what the right direction is.
Exactly. Like I'm thinking about this myth that because I had a baby, from now on, every time I laugh, I'm gonna pee myself a little bit. You know what I mean? And like I hear that often. It's like, yeah, I can't hold it anymore.
Yeah, there are memes on it. That all women are going to Zumba and then they are about to do a jumping jack and then they all are laughing at each other and then holding their pee. So
And we take it like it's normal. Why? What are we taking this like it's normal, and we're not like, wait, maybe this can have a solution, and not necessarily a solution that means surgery, right?
yeah.
So what can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So if you see the pattern, Paula, like there was a time when women was not that empowered. Like women was mainly the housekeeper, taking care of the kids, chores and things like that. But with time and with age, as more globalization is growing and everything, women is getting more power in every way. Not only in the aspects of finances and career, but in general, women is receiving more respect, and it's like overall the scenario has changed. So what's going on was that there was a time when women, they might always be leaking, when it was our grandmom time, our mom's time, I don't know, maybe at that time they were still leaking,
But they will never
they will
say
never
anything.
it. Exactly.
Yeah, or laugh about it.
Exactly. So they will just keep it to themselves. Maybe even their husbands doesn't know what's going on. Their moms didn't know. Their sisters didn't know what's going on. Now it's little different. Now they talk about it. They talk about it to their friends. And then when they start talking to people, women found out that every other woman has it. And because today's women is more empowered, they started accepting it. And they are like, oh, I'm normal. And they started celebrating it. It's like a victory that, oh, this is not to shy about. This is something which is normal because my friend has it, my mom had it.
Okay, so everybody, that is not normal. This is not normal. We have a solution for it. We have a specialist in pelvic floor therapy, and we need to look for that help to feel better every day, right? This is the quality of life. We're talking about being comfortable anytime, at any place. Go jump with your kids and don't have an accident when you're jumping or laughing with friends, right?
Yeah.
So, Triti, tell me about how, because we're trying to make it more, this program will help everybody, of course, but related to pregnancy and delivery of the baby, how does pregnancy can affect the pelvic floor area?
Yeah. So basically, what happens is, regardless it's your first pregnancy or your second pregnancy, if you think about it, Paula, when the baby is inside the uterus, with time the baby is growing, the uterus is growing, right? So there is a constant downward pressure on your pelvic floor. Like for 9 months, the baby is sitting there. So there is constant pressure on your pelvic floor. So if you think about it, like I just mentioned, that how your pelvic floor muscles, they act as a support for these 3 pelvic organs. So now these pelvic floor muscles are overworked because they've been containing the weight of the baby and the uterus for those 9 months, right? So it's been a long time. Plus, think about pregnancy. With our belly growing, everything changes. Like our posture changes, the way I'm breathing, it changes. And all these have great impact on your pelvic floor. Like, I kid you not, Paula, I see this so many times. These postpartum moms, when they come to me, when they will stand and I'm doing their postural assessment, they stand like this. Like they're literally tipping forward.
Yes.
Why? Because when they were pregnant, that belly was there and their center of gravity was shifted little forward.
Yes.
Right? Now the baby is gone, belly is gone, but their body is still processing that, their center of gravity is forward.
How long it takes for the body to process that?
It depends. It's so sad, Paula. For some people, it takes forever. But if they get the right guidance at the right time, it's going to take maybe like a session or maybe maximum a week to just understand how they need to, work on their body, like how their posture should be.
Okay, so beside the biological changes that happen by nature, as the baby grows, it's putting pressure in the different organs, our body needs to readjust, and we can feel the pressure because it's difficult to breathe, it's uncomfortable to sit down. But what are the things that pregnant women are doing to put more pressure on the pelvic floor? And what are the things that, just to give us an idea, you're not going to give us a whole consultation, but what are the things that you help them to do to avoid that extra pressure? Because the pressure will be there no matter what. What we need to find out right now is like, how can we avoid putting more pressure and what we can do to prevent, right, to make it worse. Yeah.
So one thing we need to understand here is that with pregnancy, these little things combine. Like, it's not about like a one bad thing that someone has done. It's more about those little tiny habits that we do throughout the day. They pile up and then they lead to pelvic floor dysfunction. So it's not like something that you did just one day. It's more about something you are doing every day, multiple times a week, multiple times a month, and then it gets piled on, and that's how it affects your pelvic floor. So, like, to give you a few examples, the way you are moving when you are standing up from the floor, the way you are moving when you are getting out of the bed, you are getting in and out of the car, if you are a second time or a third time mom, how you are holding your older kid, how you are handling that baby. So like I mentioned, that with pregnancy, few things change, right? Like your posture changes, like I said, the pressure is increased, the breathing changes, but there are a lot of things that we have control over, Paula. So like, for example, if I pick breathing, what happens is with the baby growing, baby sometimes pushing in your ribs and all, so there is not enough room to breathe. So what women start doing is they become shallow breathers. They start breathing only in their chest. And they pay the results even during delivery for that. We'll talk about it later. But yes, that does affect everything. So just retraining your body on how to move, how to manage the pressure here, how to breathe, how to send your breath all the way to your pelvic floor so that there is an overflow of breath to the pelvic floor. These little things have a huge impact. And the little things that like with that pressure, the pelvic floor starts holding tension. And when they start holding tension, I don't know if you have heard, people end up having low back pain. Now, that low back pain can be prevented if you work with a specialist.
When you're breathing shortly, you're bringing less oxygen to your body and you're bringing less oxygenation to different part of your body. And if you are feeling tension, I mean, everything is combined, right? So basically right here, you're teaching us to have a specific postures and a specific movements to be able to collaborate with the pelvic floor and to avoid making it worse.
Yeah, and they can also learn like by just learning the flow of breath, being more aware of their body and all that. They are not helping themselves to just prevent these symptoms like low back pain, leakage and things like that. They're also preparing their body for labor.
And that's what I want to go next. Yes.
Right? So by doing all this, they are not just like you asked, like they are not just preventing their discomfort of low back pain or leakage. Like there are gazillions of things that can go wrong, like pubic symphysis pain. That's so common with women during pregnancy.
Yes.
So that all can be prevented, or at least the effect can be minimized by knowing how to move your body, how to flow your breath, how your posture should be, what muscles need to be worked on.
Exactly. So, for example, how much time you can be sitting down and when is the good moment to start moving around. And I bet you have very specific movements to...
Yes. So
I'm like, I want to know more. Tell me.
So I'll give you one example. It's so common and this is going to help a lot of our audience.
Yes, please.
So like usually like when we get out of bed, how do we generally, like you and me, how would you, okay, tell me, how would you get out of the bed?
Sit and walk. That's it. Don't even think about it. Maybe roll over. to the floor.
So see, this is a little tweak that we have to make. So think about this, that if, like with all these pregnancy changes that we spoke about, what happens is, Paula, that there is increased intra-abdominal pressure. If you think about it,
Yep.
and someone not breathing right, this pressure is going to be even more. Because again,
Contraction. You're in contraction.
Yep.
If you're not breathing and you're not relaxed, your whole body is in contraction. You're in tension. You're not letting go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I'm going to go a little bit in the science facts here. So what happens is, like, our lungs, they sit on the diaphragm. Diaphragm is a muscle. It's a dome-shaped structure. So when we inhale, with a full inhale, what happens is my lungs, they expand and they flatten my diaphragm.
Yes.
This happens with inhale. This is a normal physiological process. Now that pressure gets transmitted to the intra-abdominal area. That pressure gets transmitted to my pelvic area, and in response to it, my pelvic floor muscles, they lengthen.
Got it.
So if you see, there a piston kind of relationship between the diaphragm and the pelvic floor muscles. So imagine a mom who is a shallow breather and breathing only in the chest. She is not engaging her diaphragm. Diaphragm is a muscle. Because of disuse, it's going to become stiff, it's going to become weak, less oxygenation and circulation, more pressure here, because where is that pressure going to go? That pressure is just sitting there and it's not even flowing to my pelvic floor. So with all that pressure, you know, it's so much pressure there. And with that pressure, if you are getting up like this, what are you doing? You are causing
Breaking.
even more pressure here.
Yeah.
So that's going to put more load on your pelvic floor muscles. Right? So one little thing that you can do is, instead of getting up like that, roll to your side and do log roll. What log rolling means is that you think about your body as a log.
Okay.
And roll your whole body.
Roll.
Instead of doing the segmental rolling. Yeah. So usually when we roll, how do we roll? We would put one leg to the one side and then the other leg on that side, right? So that is segmental rolling.
Perfect.
So it's so interesting what happens with our female hormones when we are pregnant. There is, on this model, like you can see, there is this little cartilage here.
Yes.
Right? So
go to the camera. I'm like, I want to learn. And I'm like,
she gonna learn too. I'll give you an extra class. So what happens is with all those female hormones, these ligaments and everything becomes loosey-goosey. Like they become more stretchy and elastic.
but isn't it that part of what's needed for the labor of the baby? Isn't it that the body start loosening it up, so that way when the labor comes, it can be like elastic? Is that right?
That is so true, Paula. But think about it. When these changes are happening in our body, if we are not being aware, we will end up having certain issues like, you know, these, because our normal anatomy is not that. It's new for a mom. There are so many changes in the body. So what happens is women end up having this pubic symphysis pain. Why? I'll explain you. Because this ligament is gonna become loosey-goosey. Now think about this, that this stability that this pubic bone has, it's been lost. Now it's like little wobbly,
Got
right?
it.
So now if you're gonna move one leg and then the other leg, you're gonna hurt yourself because you're moving one leg, then the other leg, and this is not providing you the support, and women are like, oh my gosh, I have that pubic symphysis pain, right? So if you're gonna just roll like this, what's gonna happen? If you roll like this, you are keeping these both segments together. So even though this external support has been compromised, we are adapting it by rolling as a whole and then not eliciting that pain.
Got it.
So some of it can be like, it also depends, it's subjective, women to women, but some of it might come, but it's gonna be drastically minimized by taking care of these little few things.
Amazing. Wow.
Yep.
Very
So that's
interesting.
one tip. And like that, there are so many, you know, that you can
The
work
next
with your
one,
specialist.
if you want more, you have to come see Tripti. Definitely. Don't waste this opportunity. Tripti, can pelvic floor therapy change the outcome of the delivery of the baby? Can we increase the chances of having a vaginal delivery doing pelvic floor therapy during the pregnancy? Can we increase the chances of having a vaginal delivery and decrease the chances of having a C-section? doing this therapy during pregnancy?
So I'll answer this question not in yes or no. I'll give it a little differently. So what pelvic floor therapy does is its goal is never to force your body for vaginal delivery. The pelvic floor therapy's goal is not to force you to go in vaginal delivery. The goal of pelvic floor therapy is to give your body that environment so that you ease into labor and delivery. If that makes sense. So if you think about all the stuff that we have just discussed, like, working on your breathing, your posture, how to take care of your movements, how to be aware of how to send your breath to the pelvic floor, learning how to push during the delivery, all those things, like when you are working on all those things, number one thing is it's not an unknown land for you, right? Because unknown is always scary.
Yes.
When you know what to expect.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's actually during these visits with you, the women will learn how the pelvic floor function, how the pelvic floor is gonna respond during the labor and delivery of the baby, how to breathe, how to relax.
Yes.
So even though it's not meant to increase the chances of vaginal delivery, but as you say, knowing how my body works, how my body responds, there is a bigger chance that you're going to be more relaxed to allow your body to do what your body needs to do during the delivery of the baby. So maybe it could.
Let me elaborate it a little bit. What you just said. You whatever you said is a great explanation. But think about this. So what happens is, like, during delivery, the oxytocin hormone increases, right? Because its goal is to, again, like you said, to make everything stretchy, to make everything loosey-goosey so that the baby comes out, So that's what its goal is. So what happens is, like, when that hormone is released, your pelvic floor in itself creates a length. It becomes more stretchy as compared to what it could. Now think about it, that if during pregnancy you weren't able to take care of your pelvic floor and it's holding tension for some reason, if it's tight, which in most of the cases it's tight. Like, women, they just overdo Kegels. That is a whole another topic, they've been told, oh, you are pregnant, just work on your pelvic floor. And in their mind, working on pelvic floor is just a strengthening, Kegel. But think about it, all this pressure is already going to the pelvic floor. Your pelvic floor is already overworked. Plus you are doing Kegels, further shortening the muscles.
More tension.
Exactly, you are causing more tension. And now when that hormone is released and your body is preparing for that time when the baby is going to come out, if you have worked enough during pregnancy, where you have restored the length of your muscles, where your muscles are not holding tension, you will end up in preventing the tearing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Baby is gonna come out anyways. Baby is gonna torn you apart, and baby is gonna come out, because this is nature, right? This is how our bodies and all those hormones work. You need to take care of yourself, and that's why it's important to work during pregnancy, because then you learn how to release the tensions in those muscles, you learn how to breathe. So if you think about it, it is actually helping with vaginal delivery. It's not, there are certain cases, when actually C-section saves lives. Emergency C-sections happen and all that, they saves lives. But if you think about it, Paula, most of these C-sections happen why? Because it's a long labor.
Let's leave it like that, because I have there is a lot of things happening that ended coming in emergency C-section, right? That's a huge topic.
That's a huge topic.
We can absolutely talk about that topic whenever you want. Not to scare anyone, but more as a matter of informing people, because I really think that many C-sections can be prevented.
Yeah.
And just preventing unnecessary inductions, right? So there are a lot of inductions happening that sometimes there's no reason for it.
But then, Paula, again, I would say that if we have worked on our body enough, then that stage won't gonna come. We're not gonna end up having a long labor. We don't end up having like suffocation, not being able to breathe.
That would be
the
wonderful.
Baby,
Yeah.
Right? So when those kind of things happen, then unfortunately they have to decide on going on C-section.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right?
No. Emergency C-sections can save life. Absolutely. Unplanned C-sections can absolutely save life and save many other situations, but there is things that we can work on to maybe decrease those percentages.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yep.
that would
I
be
completely
beautiful.
agree.
But I really think, just listening to you, that there is a bigger chance that a mom can be more receptive, more relaxed, learn how to work with her, connect with her pelvic floor, to be more relaxed during the delivery of the baby and allow for things to happen how it's intended by nature. And yeah, of course, C-sections can save life and can be extremely, extremely important. Yes, we're not against C-sections. So talking about C-sections, a parent that had a C-section, can she also have, how does the C-section affect the pelvic floor?
Yeah. So again, that's an amazing question, and I get this all the time. So think about it. Like we already spoke about the changes that happen during pregnancy. So regardless if it's a C-section, vaginal delivery, whatever, but the pregnancy was the same.
Yeah.
That pressure was still there on your pelvic floor muscles. Your pelvic floor muscles were still overworked. Because of that, they become tight. They become weak because of overworking. So all that still happens. Your posture was changed. Your breathing got altered. So everything happened exactly the same for both. So actually, if you think about it, that the mom having a C-section has to work on one additional thing, which is her C-section scar. She's going to have to work on all these things because it's the same for the vaginal and the C-section delivery. But the C-section mom, we can have like a totally different podcast on C-section. I'm telling you, there is so much to talk about. But in nutshell, I'll tell you that C-section moms need to work on their scar right away. They need to work on the scar right away, because if they don't, and if that scar tissue builds up, I'll quickly share a story with you. This is very close to my heart. So I had a mom, her youngest daughter was 11-year-old, okay? She came to me because she had pain with intimacy. So since 2 years, before she came to me, even before that, for 2 years, she's been going to different doctors. She's been to gynecologists, different gynecologists, LA area, everywhere. Then she's been to urologists. She's been to different specialists, just to find out why she has pain. And when she had the pains? With intimacy. So she had pains during intimacy, not during intimacy actually, after completing the intimacy.
Okay,
like
very interesting.
The act is done, everything, and she would have bad cramps, and those cramp will stay for 7 days.
Wow.
So for 7 days she cannot go to the gym, she cannot go to drop her kids to school, she cannot have sex with her husband.
Don't have sex anymore.
She cannot.
Poor woman.
So her life was so crazy because
sorry.
she was scared of having sex.
Of course.
Right? Because every time the result is that at that time it's okay, but then she's gonna pay for it for the whole week.
Such important part of our lives.
Exactly. So she's been going everywhere, and then she came to me and she was like, Tripti, you are my last hope, and I don't even know any surgery that can save me. I know nothing.
Wow.
And this lady, when I evaluated her, long story short, we worked for 15 sessions together, and Paula, most of the time, like we had to work on so many things, like because I believe in holistic approach. I work on everything. I work on the mental aspects, emotional aspects. I work on your breathing, your posture, your hip muscles. Like I work on your whole body.
Beautiful.
And then I did a lot of manual work to release tension as well. But guess what? Everything boiled back to her C-section scar.
No way.
She had C-section freaking 11 years ago.
Oh my God.
And poor lady, she had the scar built up because of that. And that was like crunching up all the tissues there, the superficial fascia, the deeper fascia and everything. And when she was having the act, like when she was having the intimacy, because of the penetration, like later on she was having the cramping because all these muscles and tissues and everything is like crunched up.
Wow.
So releasing her scar tissue, working on the scar, it was just so crazy. Even after 11 years,
Amazing.
it worked. And within 10 sessions, she was able to have
Wow.
sex like multiple times in a day
I love that.
without having any pain or discomfort.
That's so good for
And
her.
it was a game changer for her. I can't even, we don't take names of clients, but anyways, she was from a very reputed family. She did not even want to write a review for me because she said she has to keep her identity protected.
Exactly.
But she was like, Tripti, I would like to just scream out for you that what you did for me. But I cannot, because I cannot write a testimonial. I cannot do anything.
Wow.
But I'm telling you that this is the intensity of C-section scar. So it's
Amazing.
actually more
Unbelievable.
important for C-section moms to go to the pelvic floor specialist, definitely who has the holistic approach. You want to find someone who has holistic approach.
That's unbelievable. I will never imagine that. Sorry for my ignorance.
No,
and my lack of information regarding that. I will think, oh, okay, you had a C-section. That's it. You're fine. Sometimes I feel that way. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you don't really know what happened right there. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. Crazy.
Yep.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. That's amazing.
Yeah, that story is very close to my heart. I'm like a lady whose life was all upside down. It was not only intimacy, it was everything. Her confidence was going low, her self-esteem was going low. She couldn't participate in her kids' activities because she had cramps if she would do it.
All the pain during all those days after, it's not really regarding that. Intimacy is more than that. It's everything that is affected all around that, and her whole energy for everything.
And she was holding lot of negative energies and lot of emotions in her pelvic floor too. So we had to do I had to use my NLP techniques.
There you go. I imagine.
to release all those emotions from there as well. So that also helped.
Amazing. Wow, that's a huge case. Thank you. So in those first 6 weeks postpartum, what are some, so from my understanding now, every woman should go to pelvic floor therapy, at least to evaluate. Initially, first we think, oh, I think I'm fine, but initially will be to evaluate to make sure that everything is functioning normal. And, but let's say that we're not thinking in going to pelvic floor therapy, but what will be the red flags that a woman, or symptoms that a woman will feel during those first 6 weeks, that will call her attention to say, I need help. I really need help.
I will definitely answer this question, but before that, I do want to clarify that we do not have to wait for your pelvic floor to show any signs. Like Paula said, we have to go to a pelvic floor specialist as soon as we are done with delivery, as soon as we are in the recovery phase. Like she said, there is no harm in doing just the evaluation. If you are all fine, be confident in that. Let your specialist tell you that you are all fine. You don't need my services. But if they will feel like you would need attention, they will explain you. So now I will answer the red flags. So the red flags where you have to go to a therapist is definitely if you have any sort of leakage, if you feel any kind of heaviness down there, like if you feel like I feel a little heavy in my lower abdomen or in the vaginal area, if you feel, because again, there are so many things that are going wrong because women are working out now. And sometimes they are working out like crazy, even during pregnancy or right after postpartum. So things can go wrong. So again, leakage, any kind of pubic pain, any kind of low back pain, any kind of, some women, they come to me because they feel that like there is nothing here. That's what they say when they come to me. That Tripti, I feel like that there is something empty or something has been lost from here. That's what they tell me. One woman actually told me once that when I move around, I feel like my intestines are moving.
Wow.
That was her explanation.
Wow.
So what happens is you lose your core.
Yes.
Right? So if you have any of those signs, you definitely want to run to your pelvic floor therapist. If you feel there is a bulge, like let's say you have a feeling that there's a tampon in your vagina, or if you feel like there is a bulge there when I put my finger all the way in, or when I have intimacy. Actually, pain with intimacy or discomfort with intimacy is another sign. And if you feel like during that you feel like something is there, then it's a sign, because it can be prolapse. If you feel that little bulge, or if you feel that heaviness in your lower abdomen, that can be a sign of prolapse. And lately, prolapse with postpartum moms has been so common. Prolapse during delivery is so common nowadays. So it's like that's when you need to go to your therapist right away. So yeah, like all these things are red flags that you have to go to them. All these pains, don't ignore it. If you have difficulty holding the pee, if you feel like it's urgent to go to pee, it's a sign. If you have low back pain, it's a sign. If you feel unstable here, it's a sign. All these are red flags.
Very helpful. Very, very helpful for everyone. Perfect. What about for the mothers that are planning to breastfeed or they are breastfeeding their babies? Is there any way that the process of breastfeeding will help, or the hormones can affect the area of the pelvic floor? What do you think, or what do you know about it?
Yeah, so with breastfeeding moms, what happens is, like, when they are breastfeeding, they are releasing a hormone which is called prolactin, right? So the prolactin increases in the breastfeeding moms, and the estrogen is decreased. Estrogen is very low. So when the estrogen is very low, the function of estrogen is that it's gonna thicken your pelvic floor tissues. It's gonna make your pelvic floor more stable. So now you think about it, that your estrogen is way less. So your pelvic floor is less stable, it's more stretchy, it's more loosey-goosey. So you definitely at that time you need to take more care of your pelvic floor. Now that being said, breastfeeding and going estrogen levels low, all that is again a natural process like pregnancy. It's going to happen, right? But one shouldn't be under the myth that, oh, because I'm breastfeeding, I shouldn't be taking care of my pelvic floor, I should wait. No, that is never a
time
thing.
to start, because also there is oxytocin around that produces the contractions, right? When you're breastfeeding, you release oxytocin, and that helps the uterus.
I was about to mention
Go
that.
for it, go for it. That's your topic, go for it.
I was about to mention that. And the benefit of breastfeeding is that, like you said, that oxytocin is released. And what oxytocin helps is, like, it's gonna kind of pull your uterus back to its position. It's gonna help with that. So once that happens, think about, like if we are talking about the benefits of breastfeeding, think about it. When that uterus is going back to its position, there is less pressure on your pelvic floor.
Yeah.
Right? So technically breastfeeding is helping, because it's helping your uterus to go back, taking off the pressure from the pelvic floor. So it's helping to release your pelvic floor automatically, because once they are not overworked, they'll be like, now I feel better.
But at the same time, if I don't breastfeed, then I'm missing that part of the body going back to the normal shape of the uterus, and it will take longer, right? The process will happen somehow, but it will take a lot longer for the body to recover.
You are right. So what happens is, like with breastfeeding, this process of uterus coming up is faster as compared to if someone is not breastfeeding. Also, the person who is, so it's like everything has pros and cons, right? So we cannot talk about even the pros of breastfeeding. It's like, I'm a huge advocate of breastfeeding. So that's whole another topic, the benefits of breastfeeding for the baby, for the mom. But in terms of pelvic floor, if we are talking, this is the benefit of breastfeeding, that oxytocin is helping the uterus to come up and is helping, to take the weight off your pelvic floor. But then again, because the estrogen is very low, it's like kind of more flexible and more stretchy. But you can work on it. You can work with your specialist, learning how to breathe, learning how to move, learning, your posture, learning how to train your pelvic floor muscles. Your recovery can be little slower, but that's okay. Just accept it, because the benefits of breastfeeding is much, much, much higher than just that little thing, that little time, little longer time for the recovery, which is okay, in my opinion. So that's the only difference, like if you see in breastfeeding and non-breastfeeding moms.
Great. What about those moms that are eager to go back to their pre-pregnancy body and they want to work in those abdominals and they're desperate? Is there a connection between can you work in the abdominals without taking care of the pelvic floor, or is everything connected? Can we do it right away, or we need to wait and be gentle with our body? What is the answer?
I think by now my audience and you already know what I'm gonna say. And that's what I wanna do. I wanna people be aware of it, by themselves. They don't need to ask me these questions. They should know by themselves that it's too soon.
Yeah.
Give your body time to heal. Let it heal. So, Paula, I believe in your body can heal itself. Post pregnancy, like postpartum, the time of 6 weeks, I call it the golden weeks of recovery. Give yourself time, take care of yourself, rest more. If you think about breastfeeding, another benefit of breastfeeding is that definitely bonding and connection is one thing, but also mom gets to rest because she's feeding the baby most of the time.
And you're forced to be sitting there or laying down and
Exactly.
spending all that time. It forces you.
It forces
So
you.
nature forces you to be there for your baby.
Exactly.
To sit down,
So mom
to
will
lay
not
down.
go to the gym.
No, no time.
Because mom has to feed the baby. So if you think about it, nature has created it this way, that you rest, your pelvic floor will heal itself because you are not running around, you are not doing crazy stuff, because you are giving that time to your baby.
Yeah.
So your body heals by itself. So let it be that way.
I love putting this question right here, because nowadays our society is very disconnected from nature.
Oh yeah.
We're so thinking in the women that I was before having the babies, that it was full of activities, taking care of myself 24/7, going to the gym and all these things. Think about the image all the time, and we are very, very disconnected from our nature. So I have a wish for pregnant women, and one of my wishes is for them to take this time in life to reconnect with nature.
That's so
And,
true.
and learn as much as possible about the natural process of your body to have an easier pregnancy, easier delivery, and easier passage from being that women without kids to a mother.
Yeah.
It's a huge process. So many things changes. I put that question right there because I know people these days are very into image of the body, and they thinking about going back to the gym. I just had a few moms yesterday telling me, I need to lose my weight or take it easy.
So even for those moms, I have a message, Paula. Even the moms who are fitness freak, this is a message. We are not asking you to be laid back or lazy.
No.
That is not the intention. The intention is to heal your pelvic floor. Now, sometimes people ask me, like, how soon can we see you postpartum?
Yeah.
Like, how soon can we start working with a specialist, with a pelvic floor specialist? So to answer that question, you can start right away. So if you think about it, those 6 weeks, you are not wasting your time. You are actually working on your fitness by resting, or by having that rest between work, like balance between work and rest. What you are doing is you are letting your body heal. You are giving it time to heal. Also, what you are doing with that is that, like, if you work with a specialist, like women who come to me right postpartum, what I work on is I work on their breathing, because my main goal is what? Diastasis recti.
Perfect.
My main goal is to facilitate the healing of diastasis recti. So what happens is that if you go to workouts right away, instead of helping yourself, you are killing yourself for no reason, because your diastasis recti keeps getting worse if you did not learn to manage pressure, the pressure that I was talking about.
Before you keep going, explain diastasis recti.
Sure. So what happens is, like, when we get pregnant, our belly increases, right? Our belly grows. So there is this rectus muscle here, the abdominal muscle, which separates, because it has to accommodate the belly, right? It has to accommodate the growing belly. So what happens is this muscle separates in this process, and this is a physiological process. Like you and me don't have control over
It will happen no matter what to all of us as the baby grows and the belly changes.
Yes, this will happen to all of us. Now, again, physiological process is that when the baby comes out, now that pressure is gone, right? That belly is gone. So now these muscles, they start coming together. And if you see how our bodies heal are, like even if you pick up an example of a sprain, strain, or like a fracture, what happens is like if two ends are staying together for a longer time, the regeneration process starts happening between those 2 points, and that's how our body heals. They connect and become one, right? Similar thing happens with our muscles, that they come together, and when they come in proximity, the regeneration process happens and these muscles become one again, right?
Perfect.
And that's how you have the strong core, right? So diastasis recti is when these muscles are failed to come together and that gap is maintained. Now, like when you, there are different variations to it. Like for some people, it's like above the, so we evaluate the people 2 inches above umbilicus, 2 inches below umbilicus, and at umbilicus. So different people have different presentations, like for diastasis recti. Some have all the same, like the same separation in all 3 areas. Some they have a different shape where it's like different separation at different levels. But basically, all women, even who are fitness freak, would want their rectus muscle to come together, because that's how they're going to build a strong core.
Yeah.
If they don't come together, like that means those muscles are apart. Like how can they even strengthen? No matter you go to gym, no matter you do crazy workouts. So at that time, your goal is that your diastasis recti heals itself, right? At that time, your goal is that your pelvic floor heals itself. Like, you know, the pressure is going off your pelvic floor. So going to your specialist, going to your pelvic floor specialist, you will learn what are the do's and don'ts at that time.
Got it.
So you won't be doing like aggressive therapy, but you will, yes, be working on certain exercises, certain breathing patterns, certain things that you will be aware of more, so that you will be preparing your body so that you are ready. You are prepping your body to be ready to hit the gym, to be ready to hit Zumba.
Perfect.
You know, you are preparing your body for that in those 6 weeks.
You're not going cold turkey.
Yeah. Seriously. So that's why those 6 weeks are very important. That's why I call them like 6 golden period, like weeks.
Super important. Taking care of yourself for those 6 weeks, staying home, taking care of your baby, allowing your body to going back, but at the same time, with your guidance, so they can take advantage of all these weeks to get ready to hit the gym the way that they want to, and don't get hurt.
Yeah, and Paula, when these women come to me, like right acute postpartum phases, they don't have to come see me like every day or every week. They're coming maybe like learning few things, they're working on it for few weeks, then coming back and I'm giving them more guidance. So it's like that. It's like you are connected, you have hand holding.
Okay, I don't know if this is right or not, question, but can they do a video call or they have to come in person always?
So that's a great question. There is, so like if they have worked with me during pregnancy, we can do a video call. Like I would like to assess them once right after that, and then we can do video calls.
Great.
But if they have never seen me, I would definitely like to lay my hands on their body, because I would want to know their body. I would know their patterns, because the person who has worked with me during pregnancy, they have learned a lot already. So I can just, guide them that, oh, you know what, let's work on this, let's work on that.
Perfect.
But if someone has never worked with me during pregnancy, they have to come see me, and then we will see like how they are responding during these sessions. And based on that, we can do like a hybrid thing where where we are seeing them once and then I'm educating them stuff over the video calls. So it can be a hybrid thing. And I do that. Like I do hybrid sessions for my Bakersfield clients, my clients driving to me for Ventura and those farther areas.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. So it's absolutely understandable that you need to do a whole assessment in order to be able to continue doing some virtual visits or something. Absolutely. Perfect. So what would be a symptom or different symptoms that will prompt women to go see pelvic floor specialist immediately that this is something that it has to be addressed now?
So, the very common, if we'll go on what is the most common is leakage or urgency, because I have noticed the reason I'm saying these things, Paula, because like people have accepted leakage as very normal, urgency as very normal. That's why I'm saying that whenever you see that, just go to your pelvic floor therapist. You don't have to, keep going to the urologist, keep going to the gynecologist, because they don't have much answers for you. They are specialists in their own field. So what answers do they have for you?
Got it.
For
Yeah.
this? And like again, like the severity, if you are talking, then severity is definitely if you are feeling like heaviness in your lower abdomen, or if you are feeling the bulge, then right away run to your pelvic floor specialist. It's not an emergency. You don't have to call 911. You don't have to go to the emergency in the hospital, because people do ask me that question.
I do hear many women that are suffering prolapse after they have their babies. Can you
Yes.
explain me what is prolapse and what do we need to do in those cases?
So prolapse is what? Like if you remember, I will explain it like kind of quickly again, just to review everything for my audience. So basically, like if you remember this pelvic floor model right here, these three organs, the uterus, the rectum, and the bladder, they all three are sitting in our pelvis, right? So think about it. There can be gazillions of reasons. I'm not going to talk about what reasons, because it's going to take more time. But for whatever reasons, if there is more pressure on your pelvic floor area, what's going to happen? It's going to cause push on these organs downwards, and your pelvic floor muscles, they're responsible to hold these organs up in place, right? So what's going to happen, like after some time, when these muscles feel like we are overworked, like we are tired, if they start feeling that, then what's going to happen? They will give up. They'll be like, okay, I'm done. I'm not gonna be able to hold these organs in place anymore. And that's when these organs, they start sagging down, and they start coming out through the holes that we have down there. So like, like from the vagina, like it can be your uterus, it can be your bladder, it can be your rectum. Anything can be coming out, and there are different names to these prolapses. But yeah, this is called prolapse because like these organs are coming out of your vaginal hole. So this is what happens, and it's definitely a situation where you definitely want to go to your pelvic floor specialist right away.
Thank you so much. So it doesn't mean that if you have a prolapse, you always have to have a surgery. There are different levels.
No. Okay, so that is definitely something that we have to do another podcast, Paula. Seriously, I'm telling you, this prolapse is a huge topic. So a lot of women, when they end up knowing that they have a prolapse, they would go to a gynecologist, and what the gynecologist would say is that you are not fit for surgery. Then the
Wait.
question of the then the question of the client is, then what do I do?
It's
And then they
not-
say, wait,
It's not that severe.
it's
just
not that severe.
you're leaking sometimes when you laugh. That's okay. Leave
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
only one drop.
Exactly. So the point is that if you are seeing that bulge, why are you waiting? Like, do you think it's going to go up by itself? Do you think it's not going to get worse with time? It will. So if you have leakage, if you have prolapse, if you have pain in your low back pain, which is like related to your pregnancy or your delivery, if you have all these things, trust me, these things will get worse with time.
Yeah.
So you have to go to your pelvic floor therapist. If anyone is telling you that you have to wait, you need to advocate for yourself. And on that note, if you are accessing a holistic pelvic floor specialist like my kind of practice, you do not actually need a referral from the doctor. You can be your own advocate, and you can just reach out to a specialist and just to schedule an evaluation. That's it. It's that easy. It's that simple.
Is it covered by the insurance? I think many people want to know that at this point, right?
Yeah. So that is a good question, Paula. So there are, like I told you that me and Paula, we were talking about my career and my interest in pelvic floor and all that before we started this podcast. So actually, there was a long time when I worked in a hospital setting and, nursing homes, assisted living, everywhere. And we used to work with insurances. I have worked in outpatient settings for different organizations, used to work with insurances. what I found was, Paula, that a lot of times it was so frustrating that, you need to really advocate that this woman needs help, this woman needs pelvic floor therapy. When she gets approval for certain amount of visits, and there are certain things that you can work because you are going through insurance, certain things that you cannot work on because some practices are not covered by insurances and things like that. So I felt like my results were very limited. I felt like I was in shackles and I was treating a number, I was not treating a human. So when I started my practice, I decided to go to have like a concierge, a holistic model where like our services are like premium class services. It's white glove scheduling where you don't have long wait times. You can just get in as soon as you do it. They get to talk to me over the phone even before they schedule an evaluation. They will have my own number once they get on my care. So there is a lot of hand holding and all that. So insurance doesn't cover all these kind of services. So in order to heal you as a person from within, I have to come out of that barrier and start working with my clients independently without insurance. But our company does provide super bills. So like in certain cases, if one of my clients is interested in getting a super bill is a bill where we still put all the treatment codes, all the diagnosis codes. And then how it works is like I'm going to provide it to my client and my client will submit it to the insurance. And a lot of times their insurance reimburse it, but then, it's back and forth and all that. But I don't limit myself or my practice to do that.
Perfect.
But I do provide it to you if you need that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
So if anyone wants to go to visit you, how does a consultation look like? What happened during a consultation?
So we have like a cute little process, you can say. So first of all, like as I told you that my clients, they are very close to my heart. They become like my family when they work with me. So I like to screen my clients over the phone. I want to see if they are a great fit because I don't want to waste their time or my time, right? Maybe they are not great fit for pelvic floor therapy, right? Or maybe they have questions, they have curiosity. So I do like a free phone consultation. So they can just give me a call and schedule a consultation. In that free phone consultation, it's about 15-20 minutes where we talk about their symptoms and everything, and I help them find out if this is a good fit. Once we find out that this is a good fit, we schedule an evaluation for them. Once they get on board, they receive a welcome kit at home. So I like to spoil my clients. They have little cute goodies in that. Right. And then they have like a welcome on board, like a message where it explains, what to expect from the program moving forward. They will also get emails explaining them what to expect, what kind of clothing to wear and what to expect from the pelvic floor evaluation. Now, once they come, I do a very holistic evaluation. It takes at least 60 minutes, sometimes over that. And I evaluate them from head to toe. Basically, I evaluate everything, their breathing, their posture, hip muscles, back muscles, ab muscles. After all that, I also do their external evaluation, external pelvic floor exam, and then if required, only after the consent of the clients, we go for internal exam. Now, in the internal exam, it's not like a painful exam or anything. I go in with a gloved, lubricated, just one finger. The goal is to just check the deepest muscle of your pelvic floor, because the deepest muscle of pelvic floor, if you see this model, like I'll take all these organs out to show. So like when I go in, I'm basically like you are seeing these muscles are your deepest pelvic floor muscles. So in order to recruit these muscles, the only way is that I go in and palpate the muscles like that. So this is what I do when I decide to go in. So depending on what are my findings with the external evaluation, we mutually decide if internal examination needs to be
or
done.
not. Yeah, exactly.
So after we do that, I explain everything to my clients, like what are my findings, what are the things that are affecting their pelvic floor, and what exactly is going on with their pelvic floor. So when they leave my office, they have a crystal clear understanding of what's going on in their body, how we're going to fix it, and what are the goals moving forward.
And how long it can take, or
Yeah,
sometimes-
how long it's going to take and things like that. And then we decide, like, how many sessions they would need, and based on that we go from there. I do have like a cute journal that I have created by myself. So I give that journal, it's a pelvic floor journal.
Oh, I love it. That's so nice.
Yeah.
That's a
So-
great idea.
I have designed it with so much love, and I give that to my clients again with more goodies and everything. So they get all the tools, because we are working from within on everything.
That's really, really nice. Is it ever too late to work in the pelvic floor? Is there a specific age that you have to go, or you're supposed to be going, or it's like, oh no, you are, I don't know, 60, 70, you're too late?
No, it's never too late. It's never too late. Whenever you are ready, you are ready. Definitely, there are more benefits of reaching out in the acute phases, because the recovery is faster, and you didn't have to bear the burden of having those pain and discomfort for many, many years. But like I gave you the example of that lady, for 11 years, like before 11 years she delivered, but she was carrying all that for so many years. So it's never too late. Whenever you learn about it, whenever you are ready, just go for it. I treat patients who are 70-year-old. So
Amazing.
It's never too late, and it's never too early. It's never too early, and it's never too late.
So where the idea is that healthy habits, daily healthy habits regarding how you move, how you breathe, it can very help your pelvic floor health.
Yes, because like even like fitness freak people, they are going to the gym. They've been told that you should engage or release your glutes, you should engage or release your quads, your abs. But what's going on with their pelvic floor? They have no idea. Lot of times, like I have worked with fitness trainers, and sometimes even they are uncoordinated with their pelvic floor. So it's like, if you are aware of your pelvic floor, like you and me
So
sitting here.
important. Like we take care of our face, our hair, but we don't take care of our pelvic floor that has such important function in our life forever.
Forever. 3 functions, peeing, pooping, and intimacy.
No,
All are
and giving
important.
birth.
And giving birth. and it is part of core, Paula. Lot of women don't even know this. Your core is made by abdominals in the front, your back muscles at the back, and then your pelvic floor at the bottom. So this is your whole core. This corset is your whole core. So pelvic floor cannot be ignored.
Yeah, absolutely not. Okay, we're almost getting to the end of this conversation, which I love it, and I can be here forever. I kind of have a feeling that we can have so many things
So
to
many
say,
things, yep.
and I love it so much, Tripti. What will be a message that you want to give to the women right there, the pregnant mother, or the mother that just had a baby? What will be a message that you want for them to have after this conversation today?
The message that I would like to give to my audience is like, don't wait for your pelvic floor to get bad enough, because I hear this all the time. Like I said, it's never too early, it's never too late. Whenever you are ready, whenever you feel like that it's the time, whenever you learn about it, just go to find a holistic pelvic floor specialist in your area and just go for them. Do not wait. Empowered women is not only who is empowered financially. An empowered woman is who is strong, confident, and is able to give all that to her family as well.
Well, this is amazing, Tripti. I cannot thank you enough. And I really hope that this will, as you say, give more information to the women out there and empower them to advocate for themselves. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm so grateful for your participation and for all the information that we're giving to our audience. And please come to see Tripti. You're going to love visiting her in her office. And we hope to have you here again.
Yeah, same here, same experience. I'm blessed to be here, and I'm blessed that God has, or the universe has chosen me for this noble job of spreading the awareness among women and, help our community. So I'm always up for it.
Thank you. Let me give you a hug.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In a corner full of stories with a gentle, caring light, Paula is the voice that invites you to take flight. We'll